Welcome everybody back to Spiritual Gangster Recovery. Um, been having a rough few days, rough week, month, year for that matter. I don't want it to always sound like I'm bitching and whining and complaining. One thing recovery has definitely taught me is to live in the solution, and the solution's always faith in my God and um applying the 12-step ology principles that I have learned through being in recovery and in the fellowship. So um, I was just really inspired by a podcast. I don't know if I'm supposed to say names, but I'm just going to say it. Jay Shetty, I think you are amazing, and the people that you bring on are just phenomenal. And it was like a roundtable discussion on entrepreneurs and starting new businesses. And I'm doing my crafting in my zone as I'm listening to this, and coming up with a service, right? Because I started my LLC, and it's definitely geared towards recovery and, like, making some merchandise and doing things like that. But first and foremost is like carrying the message, right? How am I using this platform to effectively reach people with the message of hope and faith and a new way of life and recovery? And I've been blessed to work in treatment, which you know I feel like I got a taste of what my actual purpose was in life when I got credentialed and was working in that field. And you know I'm not making excuses, I'm not justifying my actions in any way. I owned up to them, and there's consequences, right? Um, so in the meantime, right, it's like, now that I've set in what I feel is my purpose, like wholly and completely, um, how is anything else going to measure up? Like, uh, I've done construction all my life, acquired a lot of skills that I'm truly grateful for. Um, and I'm blessed to be mechanically inclined. Like, I could take things apart, put them back together. Um, a lot in part to my dad. He imparted to me very, um, I don't know, very articulately, uh, how to do that. You know what I mean? How to use those skills. So, I did that for a lot of years, made a lot of money, did a lot of drugs, did a lot of partying and irresponsible, erratic, reactive, lifestyle of active addiction. Um, and then I get this desk job, right? And I did not know how to take it at first, right? I had an office with a name tag. My name tag, I had, I call them like baby letters, but nonetheless, they were letters behind my name, which is something you'd have never told me, unless it was a state prison number, or something like that, or dead, right? So eulogy or whatever. Um, and I seen when I was having conversations with people or running groups, like, and this is not coming from a place of ego or pride or nothing like that, but they would come up to me and they'd say, like, you know, your group's my favorite, you're my favorite because you're the realest, right? You don't sugarcoat nothing. You bring us like a raw message of recovery, and I feel like that's what people need to hear. And I'm super soft, right? Like, if people can't see my heart when they meet me, um, almost be afraid in that person's personality. Uh, anyways, um, so this roundtable discussion. Sorry, I'm everywhere. My blood pressure's been all over the place. Makes my brain like mush. I was chairing a meeting earlier and left parts out of it. Like it was crazy. I actually left because it had gotten so bad, but recovery also taught me, mind, body, and spirit. So I have a doctor's appointment with the primary care tomorrow. Anyways, so this roundtable discussion, and they're talking about services and goods, right? And then they're talking about people doing content and how AI is the future and it's going to disrupt a lot of things and these other things, right? I try not to go down rabbit holes because I will go down a rabbit hole. So, it was like I was sitting there praying about what I should take from it. And it was like it hit me like a bolt of lightning. I have been working with AI. I think ChatGBT is one of the greatest tools I was ever introduced to as far as working on a computer or you know, doing anything like this, right? It's taught me how to, the right equipment to podcast with on a very minimal budget. The stuff I'm using to record on is all free. And then, it's also gave me multiple ideas on like opening little like trying to open Etsy stores and Spotify and Printify and all these things, and some of them I haven't figured out, right, and got frustrated with them, so I just tried different ones because there's, of all the things out there, there might be five different apps or five different ways to do something, but one of them just clicks. Like I didn't think this recording platform was going to work. I tried another one and even paid for their better version of it, and it didn't even come close to what this one does. Not even close. So, editing's still down the road for me. I'm just making them make sure they sound decent and putting them out there, um, just to try and keep up with it and hopefully get better and all the things, reach more people, get more comments, like, shares, all the things while I'm trying to come up with the details of this service, right? So my takeaway from this, roundtable discussion was, treatment centers have like, your primary counselor, right? PHPIOP. Then they have like, case management services, and then they usually have like peer support services. Um, and that's not counting all the housing staff and like um, behavioral health specialist or something, I think they call it. Um, it was just a simple RA when I started, resident advisor. Um, and we was in the very front lines, bringing clients in, going through their stuff, building that initial rapport with them. I got to pick people up from the workhouse, which was the very first time I did it. It threw me for a loop, right? I'm like, I have never been on the other side of this facility in my entire life. The smell's the same. It stinks. It has a very distinct smell. It's just a terrible place. One of the worst county jails in the country. So, anyways, I think about all those things, building that early rapport, and the things that people had said to me when I was running groups, doing case management, doing all the things. And what if there was a way to offer those services to a treatment facility or say a sober living, where someone could, you know, come up with a price to come in maybe once a week, say, just to start out to see if it's something that they'd want to continue and um, offer a different perspective. Because, as someone that's sat in them seats with that IOP, PHP, I was in a couple CBCF facilities. One thing about us addicts, and I think I speak for a lot of us when I say this, hell, human beings in general, it's like we get tired of things easily. And I think when we get tired of things, it's like the honeymoon phase of a relationship, or, oh, I just started doing this new crafting thing. And then I see something at the hobby store and I'm like, oh, what's that like? But anyways, I think that offering a service, we'll say recovery coaching, life coaching services, where I'm trying to build this brand around the 12 stepology and the principles that I have learned, right? Like I don't want to necessarily I'm trying to like pre- protect anonymity in the best way I can see how, right? Coming up with a name that's really close, but it's not the exact name, right? It's more about the spiritual evolution process that comes from it and how that panned out for me and making almost like or not almost, making a format that is suitable to that, coming up with a 30-day devotional, with journal prompts. Um, People are really intimidated about getting a sponsor and working steps, and there's all kinds of things that go along with that, right? Like I'm scared to tell my secrets, right? And we also say, our secrets keep us sick. So the things I've held on to in my life were some of the things that kept me out there for a long time. A lot of guilt and shame about things that, between God, my sponsor, and myself, will go to the grave with those. Um, but trust, building trust with another person is really hard for individuals in early recovery for sure. And still to this day, right? Like in relationships and just people in general. And I know a lot of it, somebody pointed out to me one day, is because, excuse me, I've done such dirty shit, right? That I think other people are that way. It's like, I wanted to put my bracelets in this peddler's market that's here locally. And one of my friends I'm like, they're going to steal my shit. And he's like, you think that way, right? Like, that's your mentality from all the stealing and lying and cheating that you did. And I've really been trying to work on that, right? Because not everybody's program in recovery is going to look the same. Um, I can tell you this with complete um, transparency and honesty that the 12 steps of the program that I work is the only thing that has ever worked for me. And that is along with, having a psychologist, mental health professional on my team, a badass sponsor, great people that God's put in my life through the rooms, and trying to maintain that initial pink cloud stage of recovery. I don't think, me personally, I don't like some of those labels that are put on it, right? Because then it means that things are going to fade and shit's going to fall out and, blah, 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 blah. Because we do also think in extremes, right? All or none, middle ground and gray areas, like, what is that, right? Um, but yeah, I think that I'm really going to start working on this, right? I haven't found a job, and when I'm doing this, like when I'm sitting here making these videos, or when I'm working with ChatGBT to um, come up with some ideas for the brand, it's like feel like that's what I'm supposed to be doing, right? I feel that I don't know, that energy in my spirit and my soul, like you're in the right place doing the right thing. Keep it up. So, that's um it's a place I'm really gonna put some effort into, right? But I also need to put a lot of effort into finding a job, right? I've been collecting the things they put on your door when you're late for rent, 30 days, within 30 days, pay your rent or get out type shit. And I just got another one after, getting bailed out from my parents that love me so much. I'm so grateful for them. Um, so the goal is to work on that. I'm going to work on it slowly because I want it to be good. I go into a local treatment facility and be like, look, this is what I'm offering, right? I have never heard of it. I don't know if it is a marketable thing, but I believe that it could be, right? It could be this thing that nobody's tapped into yet that by God's grace and mercy and some love and support, um, here we go, right? So I just feel it, man. I feel it so deeply in my spirit that it's where I'm supposed to be, doing what I'm supposed to do, while I work through the depression and the things going on in my life. So I've been sharing a lot of links and stuff lately to places where I'm trying to sell my crafts, my bracelets, the engravings and the paintings and stuff that I do. I actually sold one the other day. Shout out Cassie. I'm really grateful for you and a push to make more videos. When she told me that she was watching my videos, I got kind of emotional over it because it was like I'm doing this on a hope and a prayer that anybody watches it, let alone somebody watch it and be like, when are you doing another one? Um, and I've had a couple people do that, not to say like um it's like taken off, but to me that's like a confirmation, right? Like you're in the right lane doing what you're supposed to be doing. So I'm still trying to tweak some things with the intro and outro of the podcast. So it's kind of an update. That's kind of where I'm at. I could really, really use you guys' support. I did open up bank accounts for my business. ChatGBT is like, if one says no, apply to a bunch. So I applied to a bunch and a few came through, but the beginning of it is funding that account, the wreckage of my past and poor choices. I got a shitty credit score, so um, I'm trying to make this, be something. And I don't want to be rich, right? I mean, it wouldn't be bad, right? But that's not my heart and goal in this. I want to reach the people that are having a hard time being reached, if that makes sense. Like, they can't comprehend what somebody is trying to drill into their head through CBT and DBT, um, kind of, formatting and things like that. And it's like, hold on, let me put this spiritual gangster twist on it and see if it resonates with people, and because I know that it has, you know. Um, so I'm super grateful for where I'm at, even with, zero funds. Um, I still got a smile and I still got joy that the Lord has given me, and nothing, no circumstance, situation can take from me, I know that God's got my back, and He's given me this vision. So I believe that He's going to give me the ability to keep pushing forward and figuring things out. So um, thank you guys for tuning in. I appreciate it. Hopefully,
get the fire in my spirit and under my ass to be more consistent with posting content. And I also want you guys to help me build this, right? Like if you have suggestions or ideas or places, resources where I can go and look into things, please share those. Or ways to fund small businesses. ChatGBT has mentioned micro loans and maybe some faith-based, like churches making loans. But I also don't want it to be all dependent on that, you know. To get started, maybe that's an avenue that I'm going to take. But I've set up all these things where people can donate, and if it's a $5, right, and 20, 30 people donate $5, can you imagine, right? To me, right now, what that would mean. Um, so yeah, I don't want you guys to think I'm all, money hungry. I'm going to do this no matter what happens, no matter what the consequences, situation, circumstances, whatever it may be. I'm going to continue to do this, and hopefully, start to make this content. I'm gonna start working on the devotional and like separating some of the real pivotal things that come from some of the, you know, 12-step literature that um, are the things that sometimes people don't read, right? Especially people coming out of treatment, they're like, you do a literature study, like, son of a bitch, we're reading something else, and right at that moment, boom, checked out. So, but that stuff is you know, wrote by addicts for addicts. So, it hits different. At least it did for me. And I just think there's a way to take those things and further, I don't know, put the spiritual twist on them as they have been applied to my life to the best of my ability, if that makes sense. Like taking the spiritual principles of each step and trying to implement those and live those before working the next step, right? Not being in a hurry to rush through them just to say, hey, I worked the 12 steps, and then, be smoking crack, shooting dope in a dumpster a week later. So, and I'm not trying to be vulgar or nothing. It's just, that's the reality of it. Um, it's a disease. It's a disease that needs treated every single day, all day long. So, you know, um, I think that's my cross to bear. If anybody's familiar with that term, um, and I don't look that as, um, for one, I don't take it lightly, and the other thing is that that's not a terrible thing to me, right? Like, if I could help change one person's life and they stayed clean and they were a better father, son, parent, whatever it may be, sister, brother, um, it's worth it to me. It's worth putting all this work in, even if it was one soul that was saved and brought to Christ, or um, any of those things. Um, that dash they talk about, the dash in between the time you was born and the time you pass away. I want that dash to be the most influential and inspiring, encouraging, empowering, spiritual gangster part of my life, um, and all in service to other people and seeing them um, change their lives, watch God do his thing. So thank you guys again for tuning in. I know I rambled a lot there, but hopefully some of it made sense. Um, do all the things, comment, like, share. If you like the video, let me know. Um, if you have suggestions on anything, I know what I can see on my side. It says hosted by spiritual gangster 12 stepologist Joe W. And I want to tweak that a little bit so that it's there, and then the intro and outro with the thumbnails. I'm trying to figure all that out. So um help me out. If you got some wisdom, some knowledge to share about posting content or recovery based things and small business startup things, let me know, please. Um, until next time, which I hope is really soon, I love you guys. Peace.